Humanity's actions hastened the world's end. However, right on the brink of collapse, it was saved from nuclear fallout. The sky was once again a bright blue, the color of the land had returned, and the water was once again drinkable. The ones capable of killing the planet were, luckily, just as capable to bring it back. Not just the people, but now the Earth is heavily reliant on humanity's technology to survive. It was after the Third World War, Earth was more habitable than it ever was, and the desire for peace among humans was at its zenith. Humanity rebuilt, and supporting these walls of peace are the Gauntlet Knights, soldiers capable of wielding gauntlets powerful enough to rival an entire army. All the while, a secret order strives to doom the world once again. Ciconia no Naku Koro ni, or Ciconia When They Cry, is the latest major entry in the overarching When They Cry series, breaking apart from the 1980s setting and moving into the distant future, where after war has brought humanity to near extinction, we're able to find and bring about peace and prosperity for a century ongoing. It establishes a premise that puts a huge emphasis on its themes, carried out by equal parts world building and its characters, as now more than ever, the newer generation has become one with technology, not in a physical sense, but a mental one. In the A3W era, people are equipped with a cellcom, which acts as a computer installed in the brain, and with training have become masters of multitasking, being able to fully function in both virtual and physical spaces simultaneously. It's through Cellcom and its many apps that people across the world are able to forge bonds with little issue. As with this, language is no longer the barrier it once was. Regarded as the world's best Gauntlet Knight, Mitake Miao is one of the many guardians that support these walls of peace, taking advantage of this technology to bring together Gauntlet Knights from across all 5 major factions and form a camaraderie, all swearing to uphold the status quo, and despite the conflict that might arise between their nations, will remain comrades to the end. And ultimately, what follows is exactly that. The Gauntlet Knights spanning the world are doing whatever it takes to dispel the causes for war, while strengthening their friendships. Within the first few hours, introduces over 20 characters and counting, but surprisingly manages to give an interesting basis for each member, with equally distinct personalities and relations, avoiding a mess of shifting perspectives by giving each character their own bio that gives more insight on who they are, their rank, abilities, and a brief backstory. There is a focus on a select few, but for the most part is able to introduce and allow you to get the gist of each character, and leave them open for future development. At first, it's an overload of information, as all of these names are coupled with long sections of expository world building, but after the first 4 or 5 hours or so, it turns out to be well worth it, as afterwards, it is a constant stream of progression. Centered around the aforementioned Mitake Miao, a realistic optimist who pushes forth and spreads his ambitions for peace amongst his other Gauntlet Knight comrades. He is the piece that pushes the story forth, but ultimately, it's his outlook and influence that gives this rather dark tale its heart. It's him seeing the dirt that taints this world and, despite that, bolsters his own philosophy of fighting for what he believes is right. But, at the same time, he isn't so full of confidence that he entirely believes all he does will work out. Understanding the risk not just for himself, but the others he wrapped in his own ideology weighs on him, especially when what they're fighting against is the heads of military power. It is this perspective that brings to light the main themes that drive Ciconia's narrative. Child soldiers, wartime propaganda, being a pawn for another's ideology, It takes a peek behind the militaristic curtains we see as protection, giving us eyes to witness the horrors that come from being in the perspective of those it affects. Being a Gauntlet Knight is every kid's dream. What child doesn't want to be able to fly through the sky at will? They are made to believe it is all sunshine and rainbows, without the common rainy nights. They see that light, blindly chasing after it, all to the tune of high-ranking officers. But once they realize the work or the implications of being military personnel, it's too late to back out of the inhumane conditioning and underground workings that come from the selfish higher-ups. It's a ride that tells the tragedy of being a political power strong enough to completely turn the tides, but be used to fight against your own goals by those further in the hierarchy, disseminating lies towards the public to push their desire for war. Taking a look at such topics through human nature to broach whether peace is truly possible. Ciconia covers all of this and much, much more of the unseen dark corners of war, but still manages to maintain a motif of the importance of love and acceptance. Despite the world situation, in times of dismay, the optimism seen in the Knight Aces is intoxicating. Their enforcement of peace and camaraderie to make a change is reassuring, making the present all the more brighter. Unlike previous When They Cry titles, where there's that midway twist from fun to thrill, Ciconia is a constant tug of war between tension and hope. You see the desperate struggle for peace, while the world itself pushes itself towards conflict. Gradually, this despair escalates to a point where its themes, world, and characters tie together in a climax I would say is perfect. Except for one crucial issue. It is too good of a cliffhanger. Everything that has been built up comes together to what is undoubtedly the peak of this chapter, but is only a quarter of the full narrative. Phase 1, for you the replaceable ones, came out on October 4th, 2019, with Phase 2 originally slated to release in 2020, until it was delayed indefinitely, due to the author feeling it to be an inopportune time due to the world situation. And 2 years later has yet to even be mentioned, which only exacerbates the cliffhanger problem. Hopefully, this is just giving the 07th team time to improve on what they had, and perfecting it to give the best product possible. Unless it's confirmed to be cancelled, I'm going to hold out hope, as within just this single chapter, blew away my expectations, showing how much potential it has to grow and be another fantastic addition to the When They Cry series. I finished it only a few weeks ago, and am seriously contemplating reading it again soon. Maybe next time, forming some theories while diving a bit deeper in the narrative. And with that, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Later.